On this episode of Crossing the Streams, I am talking to my friend BennyFits. I've known Benny forever, but I'm so glad that we actually get to talk today. Welcome, Benny, to the show.
It's good to be here, man. It's good to be here with you. Most importantly, you and I have known each other since 2016, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a long. Like that's basically when I started. When did Super Fight? When did Super Fight hit?
It was like that year, I believe.
Yeah,
it was 2016.
Yep, it was about the time that Super Fight.
Yeah.
Well, it was Super Fight because that's how I met you.
Yeah.
Through Super Fight.
I had Maniacal Z on here last week, and we met through Super Fight, and that was really it was a blast from the past. Like, I still talk to you, I still talk to him on a regular basis, but we don't really talk about those days like 6 years ago when we met on a game that I had released. I remember just going through, actually, like Maniacal Z, I remember going through Twitch channels, and it wasn't actually on your channel. You happened to be in another, like a Super Fight game with another streamer, and I saw your name. I was like, oh, that's amazing. And I went to your channel and started watching you then. I think that was it. But I know who you are. But for those that don't know who BennyFits is, could you quickly sum up who BennyFits is and what the channel's about?
BennyFits is a character that I created. Initially, he was meant to be sort of like a most interesting man in the world meets the laziest person, like the biggest, like, lovable loser you've ever met in your entire life. And I sort of, like, my kids thought he was funny, so I was like, I'll put him somewhere. Let's put him on YouTube or something. And I found Twitch and threw him up on Twitch and figured this will be funny for a little bit. And that was 6 years ago. So it's been quite a bit longer than I thought it was going to last, but a lot longer than any joke I've ever told has lasted, frankly.
The longest running joke ever.
Yeah.
that you've ever done. And so what can people expect when they pull up your channel? Like, for someone who's never seen you before, what would you even describe to them?
Man. You can expect a character that has a big love for the 80s, understands no adult innuendo. His followers are called Friends with BennyFits, and he has no idea why that's funny. He doesn't get it. He thinks it's one of those single entendres, That's also a joke. I don't know why you didn't laugh at that one. All right. Okay, I see what's going on here. Oh, thank you for the pity laugh. I appreciate it.
No, it was legit. It was real. I was trying not to laugh over you so I don't interrupt. But yeah. So you play a monster who plays games.
Yes, he is a 1/4 scale puppet, a rod puppet. I control him with one arm while I play games with the other arm. Probably the hardest game I've played on stream was Elden Ring this year. That may not actually be the hardest game, but that's the hardest one I've ever gone start to finish was Elden Ring.
How was that? Like, how was playing that?
It's actually fairly easy if you think about like how dexterous your fingers are and how much control you actually have over your hands. It's a whole lot easier than you think it's going to be. The hardest part is in engineering around the problem. It's not in execution, it's in planning before you get into the execution. Like, okay, how do I do this in such a way that it's going to seem natural? Because that's the other thing, is you're also performing. Like, if I were just playing games with one hand, I wouldn't care about a lot of things. But there are a lot of things that are like, well, okay, people are going to wonder why he's not doing this ability. Why doesn't he do this? So I'm going to have to do that. And I've been caught a couple times where, you can do this. I'm like, yeah. And then I have to immediately, I'm like, well, I don't have that set up. So how in the world am I going to do that?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of times there's problem solving on the fly. Yeah. I mean, it's basically it. It's all, I think that's the thing I like about it too. I think that's the reason why I've continued to do it. It's because I just really like to solve problems. I'm not the first one who's done it, not by a long shot. Yeah. Not the first one who's done like a puppet stream. I might be the first one to ever get some level of notoriety on Twitch. I will say I'm probably the fastest one, the one that made it, went the fastest from being nobody to being like actually paid by Twitch. I would probably say that's true.
Who were some of the like early? Were those other folks who were doing it first? Were they early influences in any way?
No, I had no idea they existed. I literally started because I was like, "Oh, this will be funny." I remember telling my wife, I was like, "Yeah, you know that puppet I've got that I was going to do that as a thing with. What if I just put it on Twitch?" She goes, "Oh, that'll be funny." I said, "Yeah, wouldn't it?" And then I started doing. I was like, wouldn't it be funny if Twitch found out about it and made him a partner? And a friend of mine said that'll happen within a month. I promise you. No, it won't. It happened within a month.
It happened within a month. Oh my god!
I had 9 streams under my belt before they contacted me and said you need to apply. It wasn't Twitch proper. It was somebody within Twitch that was like you definitely need to contact them. They're aware of you. They know. So like you need to strike while the iron's hot. I wish I had taken that advice more often because
that's often the way to go when opportunity presents itself. Like
that's why they say when opportunity knocks, you answer because that may be your only chance.
I actually didn't know that aspect of the story that someone at Twitch was like, yeah, you should do this. That's that's amazing.
That all happened before they had like the affiliate program or anything like that. It was all like that was back when it was very ad hoc. Because the way the process worked, you sent them an email and then they'd send an email back and they were like, they'd said, okay, we're going to send you some paperwork. Do not tell anybody that this process is in motion. Don't tell anybody. When, like, basically at this point, yes, you've been accepted, but we have to sign the paperwork. We have to get your tax papers and things like that. But do not tell anybody that you are currently in the program. And then I remember that being an agonizing time because you just don't know what, like, I've sent them the paperwork. What happens next?
Wow.
You just don't hear anything.
Incredible that it even worked. Like, I mean, I always assumed that the program was a lot simpler back then, but the fact that it was very much like send an email.
simpler in terms of how it functions.
The process, but the actual,
or I guess more primitive is actually really the right term for it.
That's incredible. We took notice of you too. When I say we, I mean like my company and I, because we released our game, and someone had mentioned that to me. They're like, there's the stream with a puppet playing your game. I'm like, what? I was just sitting at my desk. I'm like, what do you mean? Like, there's literally a puppet playing my game. And they're like,
somebody wanted me to play Cards Against Humanity. And I was like, I had played Cards Against Humanity with a group at a startup that I was working for at the time. And after playing it, I looked at my wife. I said, "There's no, I could never do this. I can't. Like, this is there's too many opportunities for something horrible to be said here, and I'm not going to present that opportunity to an audience." So we found Super Fight, and I was like, "Oh, this is perfect." Because if somebody does it, it's of their own volition. It's not like the cards didn't like force this scenario on you.
Yeah, and it just comes out.
Then you can be like, okay, that's a guy I never want to play with again because they're they reach a darker side and
it's not the focus of the game at all.
Yeah, like, exactly.
To be like that,
the game is not driving that process. It's literally just like, oh, that person is just kind of a jerk with a specific mindset.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, allegedly. Right.
That's how I found out about you. You're playing a game that I made, and I was like, no way. And our CEO was like, that conversation, I had that with another peer. And then I had that exact same conversation with my CEO later that day when I was walking by his office. He's like, hey, you see the puppet playing your game? I'm like, what?
When Twitch found me, they actually tweeted out like, yes, we have a Muppet that plays games. And I'm like,
that's amazing.
No, you don't, because that Muppet is a trademark term.
Yeah,
I will not
a puppet. Yeah,
that's why I have a command specific for that when somebody says,
oh, when Muppet. They say Muppet.
Yeah, it's like, no, it takes 6 years of jazz tap and 2 years of improv to get in, and then that is like, and so the Benny story, and this is actually somebody had said that. And my response was, oh, that was the thing I said, and one of my mods made it into a command. But what I'd actually said was, it takes 6 years of improv, 6 years of jazz tap, 2 years of improv, and that's just to get the interview, like just to get the audition. They won't even consider bringing you in unless you've got somebody within the that unless you're like the family or a friend of somebody that's within the organization. I was like, they're trying to build a dynasty. It's nepotism. Like, like that's the
whole thing.
That's the whole thing. Like,
I love that.
All to just drive people away from like
calling you that.
Like,
yeah, because it's good response.
I do not want to rile up, Disney.
Yeah,
they're a litigious group. I'll tell you that much.
Don't poke that beast. I wouldn't go there.
That came right up off the top of my, because like that's the kind of thing that I just got tired of being asked, and so I was just like, man,
it's now a thing.
This much and this much, and
that's so good. So you talk about the origin of Benny is kind of like it would be funny if. So was that earlier, like your first stream? Was that just like you were legit using the Benny puppet?
Let's see. I started out playing Hearthstone because I was like, I need a game that's going to be easy to play with one hand. I moved on to Diablo because like I'm not very good at card games.
Right.
Super Fight is an exception because the rules are very different. It's not a game of numbers. It's a game of improv, really.
Performance, yeah.
Yeah, that's a better term for it. It's a performance game. I switched over to Diablo, and that's kind of where I was discovered, was playing Diablo. And I remember distinctly, I would have stayed playing just games like that. That would have been easy. My life would have been so much easier if I just stayed doing that.
Yeah.
Carnage said, can he only play games that require one hand?
Oh, he called you out.
He called me out. He's like, can he only play games that require one hand? And it was like, no, I'm. And so I was ex-contract Blizzard. I was in the friends and family for Overwatch. And so I just sat there on my computer and was like, I'll figure this out. I learned how to do the setup that I currently use. The setup that I currently use for every single game I play.
Yeah.
Whatever the platform. That same setup is based on me trying to learn how to play Overwatch with one hand.
Do you consider that like the most challenging thing about streaming is Benny?
No, because I play games one-handed. Like that's all I do now. I don't play with two hands anymore.
You're used to it.
It's kind of like a knife. If you just like set it aside and you don't use it sometimes, it's gonna get dull. It's gonna you're not gonna know how to use it. Now I just always play games with one hand. The hardest part is the thing that is a moving target, really. For a time it was getting Benny in frame. Then it was getting me green screened out. Then it was making sure that Benny's looking in the right direction, because pretty soon you just start to kind of drift to one side. There were times when Benny was like he looked like he was drugged, because he would just kind of loll to one side and
just starts drifting.
But I've kind of gotten better at that. Now it's back to like, okay, well, now that you've solved all these other problems, you've not focused on performance as much. You need to get better at performance again. It's a death knell for all streamers. If you ever give up on the performance part, you're going to lose your audience. They're going to step away from you. And I think that's something somebody told me. I was invited to do a character panel at TwitchCon one year, and I declined because I would have to be me on the panel, and my identity is kind of important to me. They said, you know what the difference is between you and the rest of them? I said, what? They said, you're the only one that's actually a character. So what do you mean? Because they were all like, they're guys that are in costumes and have like a theme, but they're not really in character. They're not really, at least I've never stopped doing the voice. I mean, I can't say I've always been a character, but
that's always what I have loved about Benny. The whole thing with Benny is that it takes me back to, watching some of those shows, I mean, I hate to say it, Muppets, right? But like you see those shows, they are full on characters with their own personalities. And that was always very clear and something I always admired about your work as BennyFits.
Somebody said something in chat, and I gotta respond to this. I've had people theorize that you were pre-recording the gameplay, or one person was playing with someone else while someone else worked the puppet. Mm-hmm. The first like fully 3D game I played was Ghostbusters. And there would be people that would come in and go like, not pre-recorded gameplay. And I would take the proton pack and start writing their name on the ground.
On the ground.
That was an easy way to be like, well, then how did I do this? How did I know you were going to be here at this very moment?
That's hilarious. I remember talking to someone I think that we both know. And this was early on. It was Super Fight days. So another super fight like player was like, do you know
that's a big cross section?
I know. And they were like, do you know much about BennyFits? I'm like, no, not really. Like, I mean, I know as much as everyone else. And I started getting people like that person giving me theories of how it works. They're like, do you know how they do it? I'm like, why would I know? Like, and that came up a couple of times. It's like, oh, like, is it someone else manning the puppet and all that? There was all these.
That was
that
was the prevailing theory, was that it's two people. But man, can you imagine the logistics?
Coordinating all that?
I know of another streamer that does it, but the way they do it is by reacting less to gameplay. And part of me wishes that was the way I did it, because it'd be a lot easier to just kind of manage community and spend less time in gameplay.
Yeah. Do you play games? Do you play games one-handed off stream? Because you're so used to it?
That's all it's literally just to maintain it. I mean, like, why do it the other way? Okay, Splatoon 3 came out. If I started like, I'm gonna play off stream and I'm gonna play two-handed, well, now all of a sudden I'm sort of neglecting that muscle that needs to know how to play with one hand. I should just keep playing with one hand, and then so the next time I stream, I'm actually better. Yeah. But you can see the progress that I've made playing off stream.
That's insane.
With all of that said, let me say, I get a little bit upset when people make too much out of it, because the fact of the matter is there are thousands of people for which that's the only way they get to play games. So it's not super impressive. I would much rather be known for performing better and building community than what is this crazy thing he's doing.
That is 100% such a great, like, I think that's a great point. For many people, they don't even have other options. That's just how they do it.
For a long time, that was what I wanted to do. Is if I ever stop, I want to take everything I've learned and give it to somebody who might have use for it.
How is Benny just influenced how you look at content creation?
Wow, that's actually an interesting question.
You like,
because the thing of it is, because honestly, so I came into the space having experienced a lot of things like let's take League of Legends. I think that's a good example.
Okay.
If you're not doing well in League of Legends, a lot of things can happen. And none of them are good. A lot of things can happen if you're not doing well. And a lot of that's going to come from the rest of your team. And one of the things that could potentially happen is this idea that everybody else on your team assumes you know everything they know. And so they're wondering, why are you not doing the thing that I think you ought to be doing? Well, what if I don't know? What if I'm not that experienced? What if it just seems, like, what if somehow I've lucked my way into the same bracket you have, into the same game you have? And so mentally, a lot of like my thought process was like, why can't we just be nicer to each other? Why can't we all just be nicer to each other?
Yeah.
And I came into the space with that thought, with that sort of mentality. I can't say I've maintained it well. I've tried to. I mean, and it's always something that's on my mind. It's like, how can we just be nicer to each other? Not everybody is necessarily nice to each other. Not everybody coming into a community where that is the thought is willing to maintain it. It takes a community to maintain the flower that is that mindset. And so it is actually one of my deepest regrets that perhaps I've lost that. Perhaps I've lost the nice guy in me. But that said, I look around and I realize there are a lot of people out there that are much worse than I am. Having a safe haven in this space, having somebody who wants to cheer you on rather than tear you down, that is the thing that I want to cultivate in myself. If I've gotten anything from Benny in this space, that is the thing that I've learned, is that you have to spot those things, even if they're not necessarily in you, and you have to learn to cultivate them. That's what I'd really like to see in this space. I'd like to be able to bring that here. It's very difficult though, because you're much less visible. The less viral you are, I guess, the harder it is to have your voice heard. That's why we need people like Mora Moore, who just doesn't care. Um,
I love that, man. You know, as someone who, you know,
I love more and more too. I love that man too.
I love the whole the whole trying to bring legitimately kindness to the platform.
Well, I think it's the best thing you can do. As a streamer is not necessarily that particular thing, but the best thing you can do is build community, build a place people want to come back to. It's not easy. It takes more people to do it, and it takes more people willing to contribute. But beyond learning how to be on for the time that your stream is online, there is the need to build that space. And the better you can make the people in your space, the better your stream is.
Yeah.
Because the ones that don't do that eventually they've got to explain themselves. They've got to make accommodations for I let this person into my community. Well, I don't control that person. Yeah, but you could control them by not allowing them in,
Right.
by condemning that sort of behavior. That is a thing I see a lot, and I wonder why people don't. It would be very easy for you to just condemn that behavior, condemn a certain kind of behavior.
It definitely applies, honestly, especially when you look at the vast majority of Twitch, where most people who are streaming to 5 or less people.
Yeah.
And so they will take what they can get when it comes to viewers. And I think it's hard to even if it's in them to say that's not acceptable.
I think that a lot of that comes from the priority for them is I want to see that number go up, and that is not necessarily a bad instinct in terms of social media. Yeah, the number going up is a big deal, but I'd rather have 5 good people. I'd rather have 5 good people that I could say like, yeah, no, this is my circle. These are the people that I believe make me better, and I make them better.
I think you hit the nail on the head there, where I think instinctually people want to, especially when starting out, they want to drive that number, right? They want to see a higher follow count or average view or whatever metric it is. And so they stop thinking about what is truly important to them, whether it's having people who have the same interest in the game that you're playing or the topic that you talk about on your Just Chatting streams. It's interesting, and I've been there.
I think everybody does. Everybody has you have a crossroads moment, really. I'll put it this way. Okay. I've got a group of guys that I play Destiny with every week. Like we go and do some end game stuff every week. That is the kind of people. Those are the kind of people that I want in my community. The only problem is that if I play Destiny, that is like striping down the shepherd and watching the sheep run. Like, if I play Destiny on my stream, oh my goodness, that like everybody else will be gone. Like those other guys will be like, oh man, it's good to be it's good to be shooting some fallen, and then everybody else is like, I don't get it, man. I've seen this thing elsewhere before, and
I've witnessed kind of your struggle with that, balancing the fact that, because I know you like playing Destiny a lot. I know you love that game, and when you put that up against, but that's not really what the greater community wants to see. I
saw, and I'm gonna name drop him. Diction actually said this on Twitter this week, and it made me think in a way that I like, because this is the kind of advice I wish that more streamers gave.
Yeah.
He wasn't giving it as advice, but I read it and I was like, this is something that makes sense to me.
Yeah.
He said he was talking about a game that had come out, a remaster of a game. I think it's Suikoden. I think that was it. Somebody said, hey, yeah, he's like, I never played the first one. And somebody said, hey, you should play the first one on stream. And he replied, that's not the kind of thing that does well on my stream. These are for me. I play these on my own. But I've learned that my audience, this is not the kind of thing that my audience likes. And I do think as a streamer at some point, you do have to play what you like, but you also have to come to grips with the fact that there is a type of content that your audience wants to see.
Right.
And that could be relatively diverse, but ultimately you need and this is a difficult thing to nail down. But you have to identify that. You have to identify it. It's difficult to nail down because your audience is not going to give you the feedback that says, I like this. You just kind of have to.
You have to feel it out.
Gauge. Yeah. And it's not easy. It's not easy to do.
It's really reading the room in terms of, looking at all the stuff that you want to do on stream versus what actually lands.
Yeah. And that can change from day to day too. You could have a really good night. But that doesn't necessarily mean that, your little circle is like, oh yeah, rallying behind this thing. It could just be that a bunch of people came in and said, I wonder what's going on in this room.
Right. There's all those other factors that play into it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I don't think it's like necessarily wild diversity that makes a difference. Sometimes it's literally just like, this game and this game are alike, but there's a reason your viewers come for this one instead of the other one, Yeah.
It's kind of that I guess secret sauce, right? Where the combination of the streamer, the game, like sometimes things just mesh really well. And then even if you decide to play a game that's kind of like the other one, it may not give the same vibe or feel that you're able to establish with the first one.
And it could be that somebody comes in, like some people watch some streamers for proficiency. They could be watching you just because you're so bad, you get a lot of downtime to talk to your community. That's another thing that I've started to kind of look for is like, what games
can I play where I can talk to people more because I'm bad at it?
That's not necessarily that, but like what games actually require less concentration,
right?
And or have shorter game sessions leading to more time between those sessions. I'm going to bring up Splatoon again, but Splatoon only has 3-minute games. Like in the standard mode, the games are only 3 minutes long, which means that you play a 3-minute session. If you're paying attention, and not me, I tend to queue right back up like an idiot. You can. That's like those are your chances to stop and like go back and be like, hey, so like that was a pretty good game.
Yeah,
that was a pretty good game. What'd you guys think? What did you think of the color we were throwing out there? Who's your favorite new kid on the block?
You make such a great point. I think that's why I gravitated towards Lego eventually. Is because
it's definitely a community building space as opposed to, because here's another thing that sort of bugs me, and it's the notion that all you're doing is playing games. No, man, nuh-uh. I'm doing design work off stream. Not only that, but you're just seeing the part where I figured out how to play the game. You're just seeing that part. Meanwhile, like I spent 2 hours trying to refine how mouse movement is gonna work in this game where I don't really have good mouse control. You're not seeing those things, or the part where this game has like 20 buttons and I have access to 16.
You're putting in the work, that
sort of thing.
You're putting in the off screen work. That's the thing that I say this all the time on the show, that this successful streamers generally make it look easy, and to a lot of people it looks like you are just playing a game and maybe having a laugh.
Adam Savage said the same thing about Mike from Vsauce. And that stuck with me. Is like, he said, you don't see the work that this guy puts in. He is always working. He says, you don't see the stuff that he's doing in the back, behind the scenes. And so when you see these videos, you think, well, that's a very easy video. I'll bet it took him like a week to make that video. Like, no, he could have 2 months worth of prep time in making that video,
Yeah. There are people in the communities that I am a member of or that I watch, and it's really easy to think that there's not a lot of work going into them off stream. But I think about all the time sunk into, for someone like you, just learning how to even play the game, right, in a way that works for you. People, in the Lego community have to figure out, okay, well, what am I going to build? How's my camera pointed at my desk? I'm building something extra huge. I'm going to have to figure out how to place my cameras, whatever that looks like.
I'm going to tell you, I'm learning a lot of things about that sort of thing. Everybody's telling me you need to be on TikTok. You got to be on TikTok. Okay. Well, now, that sounds really easy, right? But you just stand in front of a camera like, oh, I've got a one-liner joke I'm going to give you. Like, stand in front of a camera. Okay.
No.
Now back off. Now I want you to tell me how I'm going to do it with the puppet. Yep. How am I going to set it up? Am I get the lighting right? Where am I going to do it? Like, I know it's actually simpler than I'm making it sound. I know it actually is simpler. It's like I was telling you at the beginning, the hardest part is getting into it or getting started with it. And anxiety is a killer, man. Anxiety is it will stop you from doing things that are just easy.
What would you tell someone who is on the fence about starting on Twitch or some form of streaming or content creation?
I've already invoked Adam Savage, so I'll say it again. I'll invoke him again and say failure is always an option. And your default state is failure. I don't remember where I heard this. I heard this when I was young, when I was a little kid. Somebody told me, he said, you can pay the price for success, or you will pay the price for failure. You can pay the price for success, or you will pay the price for failure. So if you want to do it, if it's really what you want to do, get started. The worst that can happen is things just don't work out. If you don't take a chance on it, you won't know what you want out of it. But I think that second part is important too. Yeah. Get yourself started, find out what you want out of it. Because you can't go by like, well, Ninja got Drake on his stream and he became whatever he is. I mean, like you can't go into it like that. You have to know what's in it for me. What do I want to do with this?
I want to underscore that because I think that a lot of people think they want to do it and they don't know what they want out of it. Mm-hmm. Or they spend a really long time building up all these expectations for what it should be. And then maybe they do jump in and then it like completely does not meet their expectations.
Yeah.
So I want to underscore that in that do it, but do it with the thought of like trying to figure out what you want out of it.
Yeah, because you'll always fail if you're running by somebody else's standard. If you're running to somebody else's goal, you're never going to make it because you may hit that goal, you may reach their goal, but there's always another goalpost on the other side. And if you haven't thought from the beginning why you're doing the thing, once you reach that goalpost, it's like I've never really been a fan of the idea of a partner drive. I'm doing the grind to partner. I'm doing that. Like, what are you going to do after that? What's your goal after that? How do you continue to rally your community behind you once you've met that goal? Because I promise you, if you haven't gotten them behind you and not that goal, you're going to lose them the moment you get it. So many partners see that. They get 75 CCV and then 2 months later, 55, 30. They see that drop. I'd rather drive somebody to get yourself 20. Get 20 people behind you. Get 5 people behind you. Get those people and make them your community. Because you can get so much more out of that. It may not be monetary. It may not be a success that other people can see and feel is tangible.
Or a check mark.
Yeah. But I mean, but Richard Feynman said that that's honors, epaulets. He has a very famous bit where he talks about how his father was a uniform salesman, uniform maker, I guess. And he said, his father would point at the Pope. He says, "That man, why do you think everybody's bowing toward this guy? He's sitting over there. Everybody's bowing towards him. Why do you think that is? Because he wears a different hat. But at the end of the day, he goes and eats the same foods. He has to use the bathroom like they do. He takes that same uniform off, and he's the same man those other people are. So when you see something like a check mark, like I see a lot of that on Twitter. I want to get verified. Why? It's honors. It's epaulets. It doesn't make you any different from somebody else. It's just it's an honorary thing. I don't have time for that kind of thing. I don't have a whole lot of respect for it, frankly.
What would you say to someone who does want to like get partner and is making that push? Would you say anything to them about like?
I would not take it from somebody. If somebody was like
Sure.
they wanted that, like I'm not going to take that from you.
Yeah.
I don't want to steal. If you're getting some joy out of almost reaching that or moving towards it, I'm not going to take that away from you. But if you're not reaching it, and that is becoming a thing that defines you, and you're defining yourself and your failure to get that check mark, well, then I'm going to tell you what's good about you. Then I'm going to tell you like, no, look at this. You got 30 people to show up. You got 10 people to show up. Just by flipping a switch, you got people to show up. You should revel in that. You should revel in the fact that people want you to be here regardless of whether or not you think you're doing, the numbers or you're achieving the goal. I think more people need to understand that, but I think that the trouble is we live in a society. Society is not the right term. This is not a social thing. It's not a social construct. I actually think it's more an issue of our era that we attach ourselves so much to a number next to an icon. I think that is how many people liked my post.
Right.
How many people are DMing me. How many people are following me. I stressed over that for a long time. I still kind of do. I mean, like, you'll never get away from it. But there is a point at which you have to turn it into what it is. Like, I think one of the things that there some people would probably tell you that I stress a little bit more, and I think it's because when we're vocalizing our feelings, we tend to be a little bit over. But the truth is, once you've got it out there, you can kind of turn it into what it is. I look at things like the numbers. Like I don't keep my numbers on when I'm streaming. You get that advice all the time, and I'm going to tell you that is probably the best advice you'll ever get from somebody. Stop looking at what the number is, what that current number is, because you're going to obsess over it. You're going to start thinking, well, did I say something that made everybody leave? Did I stop it? But pay attention to, it's okay to pay attention between. So, okay to look at how did the night go? Is that curve going up? Is it going down? Is there a point where it peaks and then drops? Then you can start making some informed decisions because you have a big chunk of data. But I think the key is turn it into what it is. Is it your personal worth, or is it time to think about what I'm doing? Do I change? Do I stop? Is there value? It's like investing in becoming a rock musician. You're playing every night and nobody shows up to your shows. Nobody's, really interested in your music. Maybe it's time to start thinking about the stream and whether or not it's a smart idea. But don't let one empty bar room make that decision for you.
You're right that I give that advice for that reason, because I think a lot of people stress out over it. I've stressed out over it in the past. Mm-hmm. I still do. Yeah.
I don't like this. This is logical me after the fact. But when I'm looking at them, I still stress over them. It's like after you've paid your bills, guess what? You paid your bills. But go look at your bank account. If you don't have money for next month, you might start stressing. It's okay to stress. It's just at some point you've got to start thinking rationally. And I think a lot of us don't reach that point, I guess is what I'm getting at. And I would encourage people to step away for a moment and think logically about what's going on.
I love your perspective on that. I think more people should think about it that way, honestly.
I've been at this for almost 7 years now, and the platform has changed quite a bit, and the people have changed quite a bit. And I mean, it ain't worth it. It's not worth. It's not worth losing yourself in it. I think is the best way to put it. Like, it's not worth. You lose yourself to the numbers. You lose who you really are to try to make the numbers go up. I'd rather crash and burn. I'd rather fail but be genuine.
So, you've been doing this for 7 years or about that time. What keeps you doing it? What continues to motivate you to keep bringing Benny on stream and doing your thing?
When I'm at my worst, when I see things going on, and you and I have had a discussion like this so recently that I'm not gonna hash it out here. But when I see things going down in the community, when I see the numbers across the platforms dropping, when I see my own numbers not doing what I want them to do, when chat is slow, I remember the people that say this is like the highlight of my day. Like this is this I enjoy this for this reason, or you do this thing. I try to hold on to those statements. I don't need you to tell me every time, but if I get it from you one time, you can't take it away. You can't take that away from me. I've got it. Matter of fact, you told me, I think you said I was your personal hero, that I'm super attractive and smart, the smartest man you know. I think that was exactly what you said.
Exactly.
And
verbatim.
And I'm funnier than Jeff Foxworthy. That one right there perplexed me. I didn't really quite know whether that was a compliment or an insult, but I'm gonna take it for what I want it to be. So I believe these were your exact words. I don't know what it is with you and Jeff Foxworthy.
You got me, whatever. Man. You got me. Definitely happened.
Everybody knows you're a huge Jeff Foxworthy fan. I'm going to make that canonical. That's going in the more and more wiki.
Yeah. The wiki, the more and more wiki. My God. You said something that is so true, and that Twitch and everything about it over time has changed.
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts on how it's changed and what that means for someone like you who's been around since 6-7 years ago?
I think when people like people say that a lot. They'll say like, "Oh, Twitch has changed. It's just not the same as it used to be." Like, yeah, but you know what else has changed? The world. Like the way we consume media has changed. Like all of this has changed. I don't necessarily see it as a bad thing, but I do think that it means that we all have to adapt to changes. Like Twitch has competition now that they didn't have 6 years ago. Call me crazy, I still kind of think it's the best platform you can be on if you're going to be streaming within this vertical, within the vertical of gaming. I think Twitch is the best place you can be. Beyond that, maybe you look at some other platforms. Mm-hmm. But I think right now Twitch is probably still the best place. That may change within a couple of years, but I feel like anytime we look at a situation like that, we say like, "Oh, Twitch has changed." Like, well, yeah. So have you. You're older than you were a couple years ago.
It's been years for some people.
But I mean, you do have to be able to identify the bad with the bad and the good, and you have to learn how to navigate around those things. I think that's the thing to really take away. When you see that, when I say like, "Oh, the platform has changed," what you really need to take away from that is that, yeah, that means that you need to be agile. You need to be, need to be able to react.
All the things you've done with Benny, is there anything that stands out as like a super proud moment for you as a creator and as Benny?
I don't, honestly, I don't really look at what I do as something to necessarily be proud in. I mean, like generic pride. Yeah. But sure. I am most proud when we come together to do something. When I have a viewer that comes in and we get to go do something they've never done before in a game, and that's happened a couple of times where I've dropped in with somebody and we've gone and done some dungeon or something that they've never had a chance to do. Those are my happiest because, okay, a small bit of conceit here. It validates the stream when somebody who just drops in and is like, "I'm going to go play with this person," and then there I am in the game they're playing. Here I am on the stream, and all of that's happening at one time. It's hard to fake that. Hard to fake it. But on the other hand, like they come out on the other side, like, "Oh, this was a really cool thing, and I did it with this puppet." Monster.
It's monster. Yeah.
He doesn't know he's a puppet. That's the. I think that's the thing that I've seen other puppet streamers kind of like lean into the puppet thing. Yeah. And I've always been like, no, he's a character. It's like Captain Kirk. If William Shatner was on stage doing like some live production of Star Trek, which wouldn't happen, but go with me for a second. If you were over there and said, "Hey, Mr. Shatner, he's in character. He's you better like refer to him as Captain Kirk. He's not gonna reply to Mr. Shatner, you know? People would ask me, people say, like, how do you do it? Like, you wouldn't go to a magician and say, okay, now how did you do that trick? You might, but he's not going to tell you.
Right.
So don't expect I'm going to tell you, you know?
Yeah. I commend you. I commend you for staying in character.
I can't see any other way to do it, honestly.
It's incredible. Do you ever slip into like Benny's personality in your everyday life?
No, it's a very much like the puppets on my. It's like you ever see Over the Top?
No.
It's a movie about arm wrestling. Main character that says, like, you know, he's got his hat and he flips his hat around. It's like a switch. It's like a switch. I'm on now. You know, like that's sort of like the same. Sort
you
of
are
like
Benny when he is on your hand. Or
I find it hard to do his voice when I don't have the puppet on, because that prep isn't there to, like, you know.
It's got to mentally feel weird.
I have to try, because people have asked me to do the voice, and I'm like, you need to give me a second, because I've got to, like,
you have to like put yourself in the frame of mind. Yeah. I can see that.
Commend him on supporting Benny during his performance.
Exactly.
Well, I mean, he's not that heavy. He actually is. I was telling. I think was it you? I was telling about the like the headset I'm wearing right now. ArenaNet sent me that. You can't see it.
I can't see it, but I see that you're wearing one.
They have sent me 2 headsets, and I finally have to tell them, please stop sending me headsets to promote on stream, because put them on. When I put them on Benny, like, it makes him very heavy, and I'm like, you've got please don't send me these kinds of promotions anymore. Send me, like, I'm more than happy to promote other products, but not these.
That's amazing. I never even thought about that, but it makes perfect sense that you trying to put a headset on Benny would result in your arm getting tired.
I think when Division 2 came out and when the expansion came out, put him in his. I have like a cosplay for Benny that has like a backpack and the little pack computer, and he looks like the iconic Division agent look. Believe it or not, putting that coat on him, it was a thin little jacket. That right there actually puts enough weight on him that it's like, wow, this I might not be able to do this too often.
That's incredible, because I never thought about how something like that could affect.
Well, I mean,
the work.
You're holding your arm up the entire time.
Yeah.
So you start thinking, like, my family works in construction, and one of the guys that worked for the company they used to own was telling me, I went to this one, like, supplier's like Christmas party, and they had these games where, you know, you could win some money, you know, like, you know, they're going to give everybody a bonus. Well, one of them was take bricks and hold them out like this. Hold them out. Think how long you can actually just hold your arms out, and think how long you can hold your arms out.
Yeah, it just takes.
It's
not long.
It's amazing. That little bit of weight. He said every single one of them. When the bricks came down, they came down. I mean, like, the arms came down to the sides.
So which arm's bigger, the Benny arm or the gaming arm?
They're both strong. Ever since I started sitting at a desk, things have just never been the same. Don't get old is what I'm saying.
Oh, man.
Just don't get old.
Earlier, you said for someone who's trying to figure out if they want to stream or not, to just kind of jump in and determine what you want out of it and just try it. Let's say someone, like, got past that step and they said, yeah, I do want to do this. What would be the next piece of advice that you give someone?
Be consistent. I'm terrible at it. But I'm going to be very fair to myself here, because I've been beating myself up over this for the last couple of months. My schedule has changed quite a bit due to my family. They kind of rely on me for transportation. So, you know, especially as school has started back up, I have been doing a lot of, like, oh, it's 6. It's time to drive somebody to this thing. My stream starts at 5. Well, I basically have to cancel an entire stream, because that drive is going to take me it's going to be a good hour and a half doing the thing that I'm supposed to be doing. And then when I come back, it's so late that it's like, well, that same audience that would have been there at 5 may not be there. That's been killer, but don't be like me. get a schedule, be consistent about your content, as we talked about before. Be consistent with your content and be consistent with your schedule, because it makes it easier for people to say yes to you. I have a friend. He built some accounting software years ago that eventually sold it to Intuit. But he's a really good guy, really smart head on his shoulders. And he always told me, he said, go for the easy win. That means don't wait till things are perfect. Go for the easy win. But if you go for the easy win, you're also going for the way that makes it easier for people to say yes to you. That's the easy win. So do it. Don't wait for it to be perfect. Be consistent so that people can easily say yes to you.
And when you, in the context of saying yes to you, that is to say, picking your stream or being there when you're on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And they know when to expect you, where to expect you. It makes it easy for them to say, yeah, this is what I'm going to do with my evening. Rather than working out and doing something to improve myself, I'm going to watch you.
I'm going to watch BennyFits.
I actually know a couple people that I've not been showing up because I've started working out or something. And I'm like, secretly, I'm like, why couldn't you just be happy and round like the rest of them? But actually, I'm happy they're doing something good for themselves.
Would Benny have said something to that effect?
Oh, yes, he absolutely would. I started this a while ago, and I don't know how many people are still in on the joke that Benny's grandma, who he moved out of his mother's house and now lives with his grandmother. And his grandmother, because eventually you got to be a bachelor. You got to live the bachelor life and go move into grandma's house. Everybody knows this. But grandma, very recently, over the past year, grandma has started lifting weights. And so that's has been the gag, is that grandma, oh, she doesn't make pound cake anymore. She makes ton cake.
Your community members in chat all lit up when you mentioned grandma.
She punched
There's just everyone started saying grandma in chat.
Because the other day, or yesterday, no, it was yesterday. My family was like, hey, we want to go get some pizza. But we want to go get the New York style pizza from the place.
Right.
And so okay. So I was like, hey guys, grandma says that we're gonna go get pizza with my family. Grandma says you're all lightweights who don't stack enough plates on the bar. I'm not sure what that means. Then in Discord, I've started doing this where I'll take a tweet and I'll post the tweet in Discord, and then I'll type a little bit. I'll put another little message around it. Whatever grandma's drinking right now looks like wet concrete, and keep saying the waitress needs to hurry because she needs to drill.
And that's just been an ongoing joke within the community.
No more context beyond that. Just grandma's getting stacked. She's swole. Grandma's lifting so many weights that she lifts so many quarters that when she takes them off the bar, it's like a jackpot.
I love that so much. That's so great.
Oh my goodness.
How has content been for you lately? What have you been focused on, and what kind of direction are you trying to go with it right now?
That's
if any.
You don't.
That's the neat part. You don't.
Yeah, exactly. That's the line. That's the neat part. You don't. Because things have been so inconsistent, I've kind of taken this time to just be like, it's just going to be whatever I want it to be.
Yeah.
Except for Destiny, because I know that is the poison tablet. That's the poison tablet that will kill the stream. So let's not do that. Guild Wars 2 had their newest expansion came out, and I dropped into that. And I've always really liked Guild Wars 2. Guild Wars 2 has always been sort of I've been playing since 2013 on my personal account.
Yeah.
Benny has been playing much shorter. In 2018, they made me partner. They messaged me and said, hey, we'd like to invite you to the partner program. And I said, well, that's going to be difficult because we haven't had power or internet. We didn't have power or internet for 9 months.
I remember this.
We're like, don't worry, it'll be here when you get back, when you're back up and running. And so I was like, okay, well, they were like, well, you just have to create this much amount of content. But it sort of gave me an incentive to really engage really like dig into Guild Wars 2, whether people liked it or not.
Mm-hmm.
And fortunately, it seems like I've had a lot of new people come by that have come by because of my Guild Wars 2 content. I haven't played in a couple of weeks now, but everything, you need a break from everything eventually. But yeah, I will be going back to that. I've been dabbling a little bit in sort of more relaxed stuff. When Animal Crossing came out, I did very well with Animal Crossing, and it was actually a lot of fun because like the great thing about Animal Crossing is I can sit here and talk to chat, and it doesn't freaking matter, you know. I actually started playing. I almost feel like embarrassed to say that I've been playing Disney's Dreamlight Valley.
Oh, I saw your posts on that. Yeah,
it's actually very good. It is definitely for a certain group of people. It
right.
is it is not a hardcore game by any means, but
you have to
like
Disney.
I know, because I do not.
Oh,
I am not a Disney fan. I do not like Mickey.
Okay, so what is driving you to play it?
It's a very casual sort of game. There's no it has all the hallmarks of an Animal Crossing game.
I see.
Mixed with some sort of like narrative elements. It's like if you're the kind of person that occasionally just wants to build a home, you know, like I just want to build a home and put all kinds of cool stuff in it.
That's for you.
For you.
Yeah.
If you're not that kind of, if you're that kind of person that doesn't want to spend $30, I'll see you next year when it's free. But
I see. I didn't think about the connection to something like Animal Crossing, but that makes a lot of sense. And I feel like if you like Animal Crossing for that casual, hey, I just want to run around.
And this is actually quite a bit more casual than Animal Crossing, because you know with Animal Crossing it's like a lot of things are like, well, you've got to wait till tomorrow before you'll see a return on
a lot of time based and task based events.
Where this tends to be a little more faster paced. A lot of like the respawn rates on a lot of things are not like a daily thing. It's like this like all the mining nodes and the gathering nodes and stuff like that respawn within like 30 minutes. So
I wouldn't have fashioned myself a hardcore like Animal Crossing player, but man, I put in the hours when I first played that game.
I had been waiting. I'd been waiting for it because I remember being much younger and I was in a situation where I wasn't leaving home a lot. And Animal Crossing kind of became that sort of like, here's things are happening in real time. Here's go out and do stuff. And so like I'd sometimes be in that game until like the wee hours of the morning when it finally came to switch to something that I could, you know, output and then stream without some sort of crazy mod or something. Because the Wii was was it on the Wii U? It was just on the Wii. It just wasn't going to happen. It just wasn't, it, you know, for the content that I'm creating, it just wasn't going to happen. Yeah, if I will say if I could have continued to play Animal Crossing, I probably would have. The trouble I think with Animal Crossing was that I just sort of I ran into a wall with creativity in that game, and I felt like I don't really know what else to do here. You know, like how do I spice this up and make this entertaining?
Yeah, I've witnessed that with a few other people who are playing that game on stream. They hit that wall where they just one day said, you know, I don't have anything else I want to do right now in Animal Crossing.
Some of my favorite, some of my best friends who are some of the best friends who are in that game, some of the creators with that game, and within the actually not just that game, but within the Animal Crossing, like they were in there for New Leaf, they were in there for Pocket Camp. When they fell off, they just fell off. They were like, that's, you know, that's it. I'm full, you know?
Yeah. I experienced that myself. Although I wasn't streaming it, I did hit that point where I opened it up and I said, I don't really feel like doing any of the things anymore. I've done all these things every day for the last couple months. So,
but beyond the Dreamlight Valley, it's been like I played a little bit of Temtem when it came out.
Yeah.
You know, it came out of early access, and that is good. But I'm really finding that I'm just not the guy for it. I'm not that good at the sort of like lock and key gameplay that it requires. Like it really
Yeah.
requires you understanding what key opens every lock on all these different kinds of creatures. So I'm not a Pokemon guy. It's the same
Yeah.
thing though.
I get it.
The other thing is the other game has been Splatoon 3, which I really want to get back to some more Splatoon 3 because it's sort of like the gift that keeps on giving, because like I said, it's short game times, match times, and
Yeah.
there are so many different ways you can play that game that aren't like necessarily reliant on your skill of hitting another person.
Right.
Like with a weapon. It's like you can back up, you can really be about like taking territory, and I enjoy that about it. I enjoy that it's sort of like PvP that's very laid back.
Yeah. They do it well.
Yeah,
honestly.
It's just a smart game. It's very smart.
Yeah. I think the design's really clever for like the whole series. They've always done some cool things.
I think you're just jealous you didn't think of it first.
I am a little bit. A little bit. Just made me think of a game I made for a game jam, but I don't think I can actually say what I did, so I won't, because NDAs.
Yeah,
but sounds like there's all kinds of things that Benny is getting into.
Yeah, I decided this summer would really be about just Benny doing what he wants. Like it would really be just about Benny being Benny. Like chasing your happiness. I think at some point you have to kind of do that. But I think that's the way you avoid burnout, frankly.
Rumor Bard in chat is asking, what are some other really chill games that both of you like?
Well, I guess we'd have to start saying chill games then.
Chill games.
I have actually been chill games. I've actually been working on trying to find a way to take Minecraft and turn it into something that is much more focused on casual interactive play as opposed to the survival and defense. I guess Minecraft tends to be a very defensive game.
What about creative mode? Just doing stuff in creative mode, or is that too open sandbox?
I think that's the problem. Is trying to find something between the open sandbox and the more structured survival play. You know. So I've been working on that. I did actually try. I tried a game called Dinkum, which I know everybody was talking about. Everybody was talking about this last month, I think, and it just didn't resonate with me like it does with a lot of other players. I tried it, and I didn't play a whole bunch of it, no. But what I played of it was like, okay, this is good. I see where this is going, but it seems like it maybe trends a little too close to a little too far away from the more casual experience that I was kind of looking for. I just never I kind of saw where it wasn't what I was hoping it would be.
I haven't played this myself, but I've watched people play is Unpacking.
Oh yeah, I've heard very good things about it.
And that's just a very good game, but also very cozy, relaxed. Let's unpack things, and then there's a whole wonderful narrative underneath it all too.
Lawn mowing simulator. Lawn mowing simulator. Donut County. I wanted to actually try Donut County because it reminds me of Katamari.
Really?
Yeah. I have played Fall Guys. Somebody's Barryman says, forgive me if you've played this. I played that when it came out. And I found out today that there are Destiny skins in Fallout.
There's Destiny skins because of the whole move to Epic.
Yep.
Or addition to Epic, rather. But yeah. If you ever want to play Fall Guys, man. There was a short time where I was going to be a Fall Guys streamer.
So many recs for Benny that Benny doesn't always listen to. Man, it's a lot of it's time, and boy, a lot of it's money. Especially now, like
fair
things have gotten. Money has become more of a deciding factor for me lately.
A lot of good games coming.
Good games are coming. It's
Which ones are you thinking of?
well, well, I'm so glad that you asked, because in exactly 31 days,
Okay.
we will be getting Ghostbusters Spirit Unleashed.
I saw
And
I saw it.
that day is Benny's birthday.
Oh, so is that what you're doing?
Mm. Oh yeah, I'm not gonna play the Ghostbusters. Yeah, I'm gonna play the Ghostbusters game. Ghostbusters is a Harold Ramis himself. When I was a kid, Harold Ramis was my hero.
Mm.
Stripes, Ghostbusters, just so many things. But Ghostbusters, I had a members only jacket, and I had some tan pants, and I put a patch on that members only jacket, and
Yeah.
I wore some work boots, and I had a backpack that I attached a I
Like a
attached
vacuum hose or something?
no. I actually had like a branded Ghostbusters like thing, but I was a little too late to the asking my parents for Ghostbusters toys to actually get the proton pack, so I got like
That's
some
amazing.
other little thing. No, I love Ghostbusters. I love Ghostbusters. Ghostbusters is a movie about a couple of guys creating a startup,
Yeah.
and trying to make that thing fly.
That was really the heart of Ghostbusters, right?
Yeah. Look, everybody's got 3 mortgages nowadays. I had the toys too. I had the firehouse. I had both Ecto ones, the Ecto
That's
1 and the
amazing.
Ecto 1A.
Yeah.
I was, yeah.
Have you seen that? Have you seen the Ecto 1 Lego set? Just saying.
I both have and haven't. I saw it, and I was like, I should mention this to Amor. Then I was like, no, Amor's already seen this. There's no way he hasn't already seen this. And then from that point on, it left my periphery.
Mm.
I have been watching people build the Eagle Moss Ecto 1 though.
Mm.
And that has been a, oh wow. You know, does he have the like? I want it, but Legos are just
You'd
too
like it.
expensive.
Lego is very it's only getting more expensive too.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said earlier, it slowed down my acquisition of Lego too. So,
wonder if you can get Benny to play it. Oh yeah, Benny would play in a Ghostbusters RPG. I actually want Benny to GM a game of some RPG, simply because I can already tell you how he would do it. You know, like a lot of GMs will get, you know, you've entered a bar,
right?
The air is thick with smoke, and you can feel the crunch of of things beneath your feet as you're. And Benny would be like, you walk in a bar, there's a couple guys next to the bar. One of them is named Bob, I think.
That's exactly how I expect Benny to like DM a game.
There's a dude named Doug in the corner.
Yeah, or absolutely random detail that means absolutely nothing, but then
yeah, right.
Yeah.
Like,
the stool on the right is extra wobbly. No one knows why. That feels like a Benny.
Lore. No. Yeah. There's deep lore about that wobble, but nothing about the rest of the.
Yeah, like you go into like a 10-minute thing about how it got wobbly and its history, but then they ask you the name of the barmaid, and you're like, Sheila, sure,
Bernice.
Yeah. Rhymes with BennyFits.
Bernice. She looks like a Bernice. Like,
there you go.
Her name's like Clara.
I would watch that. I would watch BennyFits does D&D.
Oh man,
I would watch that so much.
What does the guy at the bar look like? It looks like Kurt Russell in Big Trouble in Little China. You know, he's got the mullet and everything. Like,
Grandma, what are you doing in this game?
Oh yeah, there's I know about Perception Check. I know about them.
I love it.
Where the public community is actually pretty tight knit. I have strived to make sure that happens. I can't take credit for it, but I've been very I've tried to be very vocal about like if you want to try this, you are not like you're not going to get any bad vibes from me. Do it
Mm.
because the more of us do it, the less it's a gimmick, the more it's actually legitimate.
I think that's exactly the best way to look at it too, instead of competition, because there's this whole thing on Twitch, right?
Well, you'll never be Benny. I mean, that's
right.
the thing. You may be Larry IRL, and Larry is hilarious. I love Larry. But Larry will never be Benny.
Yeah.
And Benny will never be Larry. So people are spoiled. You can be spoiled for choice, or I can try to kill every bit of competition that comes to town. Which do you think is more valuable?
Right.
I think giving people choice is better.
Yeah, I agree.
What does the investment in a puppet look like? I did not make Benny. The investment in a puppet is something like $300 to $400.
And then you maintain it yourself, though, yeah? You maintain Benny.
My wife said I've been putting money aside because I think you need to get another Benny puppet. She is supportive in a way I didn't think she was going to be supportive of what I'm doing. And she contacted the guy that made the puppet to ask him, like, how much will it cost? And he was like, wait, he still has the puppet?
After all these years, right?
They don't normally last that long. But I'm very, like, he stays hung up. He stays out of UV, like.
That's impressive.
That's what he said, like,
for years, right? It's been the whole 6 years, yeah.
Yeah. I have had to fix him. Very early on, we got a dog. Benny got a dog. And that one day I'm on a call.
Oh no.
With the people I'm working for out of LA. And I hear a noise behind me, and I look around, and the dog has knocked Benny over.
Oh God.
And chewed his eyes and his teeth and his tongue out. I'm on the front page that week.
Jesus.
How
did you deal with that? How did you
went to town, got all the things we needed, and put him back together, because he's made out of things you can just buy in town. I was like, well,
that's impressive.
I was like, people are going to notice. Nobody ever noticed. Nobody ever noticed that.
And you still have them.
I'm just thankful I didn't have to deploy any code that night, because
that would have been.
I was like, guys, I'm not going to be around. I'll see you. Because Wednesdays were it was a Wednesday night, and that I know it was Wednesday. I remember that much. And Wednesdays was when we always deployed midweek instead of like on the week, like before a weekend or something. So
yeah. You're a family friendly streamer.
Right? I did actually try family friendly. And then so a couple things happened. They updated Kappa. Which I mean, Kappa's been around for a while. Nothing really changed, but it's more like the way platforms reacted to Kappa changed. And so I was like, well, I kind of realized that there's no point in trying to be exactly family friendly and try to target a younger audience, but here's the thing. I've always wanted parents to feel like they can put their kid in front of Benny and it'll be okay.
Right.
So I try to not play things that are going to be too glaringly offensive.
I see.
I've played some, like, I was a big Division streamer, so there's quite a bit of, there's some adult language, and not just in spoken but printed in that game. So, that sort of thing is going to happen. It's going to be there, but I try not to do too much of that. That's actually about when I decided to make that move. I started playing a lot of Destiny, simply because Destiny is, I think they use one potential profanity in the entire game. I eventually had to kind of lift that up, because it just gets to be unmanageable, because you'll be contacted by somebody. Hey, we want to send you a game key.
Yeah.
Okay, what's the game? Okay, well, is this family friendly? Sure it is. Then you play it and you're like, this is not family.
You're like,
friendly.
this is
like you totally ignored all the little requirements I gave you. It just became really difficult to maintain. I try to be more on the family friendly side, and I would say, like, in the last month, I've not really played anything that I would think anybody would take exception to. Everything is delivered in innuendo that Benny admits he doesn't understand. And so like that is a joke for the adults. But
that feels like Shrek level humor, right? Where on the surface it's kind of funny, but it's really meant like the adults will get it.
I would say I think it's harder to do as well.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Because my Twitter feed may be different than yours. My Twitter feed is full of streamers, not necessarily Twitch streamers, but content creators, I guess. Boy, it is a horny mess right there. That's all I'm gonna say about
wow. You're not wrong.
I mean,
I can verify because mine's like, I would say 75% content creator and 25% game dev, only because not a lot of game devs are on social media the way content creators are.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I can verify that. You're not wrong.
Monster Prom was a game I asked for a key for because I guess I misread the signals on that one. But I got about 3 hours into it and I was like,
this is that kind of game. Yeah.
I'm gonna have to stop this. This is getting it's a little bit more risque than I want to. Like, it's a good game.
Yeah, and it's a great game.
Like they knew what they were doing, but yeah, that was a little
it was definitely I got the same idea I think you did in terms of when I remember playing that. I had a different idea of what it was. I got into it and I was like,
I think it was the point at which I was smuggling a brick of cocaine for one of the. That was when I was like, yeah, I think I can see this is not going to improve. So
you're like, that's this game.
Yeah.
I love talking shop with you, man. This is great. It's good. It's fun just talking about streaming and content creation and the whole thing. So we've had a lot of great discussion around this. Was there anything about content creation that you wanted to talk about, or anything about BennyFits and his world that you wanted to cover that we didn't get a touch on?
I think I said this to you before we ever started. If there's one thing I had to say that I do not like, that I think more people need to know, it is beware of the made for streamers label on any piece of equipment. If you're going to be a streamer, look out for that, because that is a good way to get yourself into a good way to get yourself into a piece of equipment that you cannot upgrade on.
Yeah.
And boy, most of that stuff's expensive. Way more expensive than it needs to be.
True.
Way more expensive.
True.
That's the one. Like, I've gotten myself into so much trouble with that too. Like that. I've actually I got into a bit of a fight with one creator of hardware. Well, I'm not going to name any names, because ultimately a lot of the people that were like, hey, you need, like, you just don't know. A lot of those people came back and were like, yeah, you're right. This is a piece of garbage. But the makers of that, they came down on me really hard. And
really?
I don't think there's any history of that anymore, because the guy that was essentially like their sort of like liaison, he left the company and he deleted all his tweets when he did. So so there's no like public record of that. But like, just watch out for those. Because think about like what happens if this fails. How much of my stream is screwed if this one piece of equipment fails?
Yeah.
Because if it's
I've been there.
If everything is gone because of this, then you probably need to reconsider how you're structuring things.
Do you feel that way around particular software too?
I don't have really a preference. I know everybody uses OBS. I know like everybody, like whenever you say I'm having problems with streaming, they'll all say like, you need to do this in OBS. Like, no, you got the wrong idea. Because I don't use it. I use XSplit, which is a paid piece of software. which is automatically makes it worse. but but some of the things in it, I don't think I could do my stream,
Without.
especially things like it's a lot of work to try to green screen myself out.
Mm.
And I found that XSplit does the best. XSplit
Really?
handles, yes, it handles your camera a whole lot better than OBS does.
Interesting.
The trade-off is, and it also, I don't know, OBS, I think OBS has this now, but individual items within XSplit have transitions.
Oh yeah, it
So,
does. I thought you were talking about the greens or the I think they added, like, if you have an NVIDIA card, that it adds the automatic, like, background removal and all that stuff.
It won't work for me. Because I'm wearing a hoodie that's green. I'm sitting in front of a chair that has a green screen draped over it. And then I got a big old vinyl sunshade that I've painted green behind me. So I've got 3 different levels of green that have to be keyed out.
Wow.
Which
amazing.
You can do with OBS, but you have to do filter upon filter upon filter, and it gets really messy. And the worst part is that Benny is blue, which makes keying out green difficult.
Right.
Because he's got all the little straight furs and stuff.
Yeah. When I asked that question, I was thinking about tools like StreamerBot. There's a lot of people in at least the Lego community that use StreamerBot. And
I started using Firebot.
Oh, I use Firebot too.
I'm not entirely sold on it, but I'm coming around to it.
Fair.
The only thing it doesn't have is the ability to do giveaways. Which I just run a different bot in that situation. But but I do kind of like that, when it's working well, you just kind of set it and just go.
StreamerBot's been really powerful, but the problem with it is that
I'm actually not familiar with StreamerBot.
Oh man, it does all kinds of bananas things. Like, it ties a lot of interactions to point redemptions, which is what a lot of people in the Lego community use it for. So, like, you can do a redemption where, like, you do a point, you pay some points, and, like, the scenes will change and all these things will come in and out, but it requires OBS. So it
requires OBS to do that specific thing.
Yeah, to do a lot of the interconnectivity is it controls OBS. Yeah,
I know. I can write. I don't need a piece of software to do that. I've actually toyed with the idea of just writing my own sort of thing to interact with that, because I write code. Yeah, for the uninitiated.
More power to you, because you can do some cool stuff. We're getting close to the end of our time here. I want to thank you so much.
I was afraid of that.
I want to thank you for this time, Benny. It's been wonderful getting to talk to you and just have a real conversation just about the things that we do. And man, I love it. I've always loved what you've done. I've always looked up to you as a creator, and so it's been a real blast for me to get to take this time with you.
I'll tell you this, but I hope you continue to love what I do. But I'm not a person to look up to, like, because I feel like when you look up to people, they become less approachable. So
sure.
I know that there's no risk here between you and me, but
I just admire what you do, and I agree with a lot of I think your thoughts when it comes to content, when it comes to life in general. So I just want to thank you for being there, being you, and doing what you do, and continuing to do so, even when things don't always feel like you think you should. Thank you, man. I really appreciate that.
I appreciate you. Like, I'm just sad that you took so long to get me on. I mean, I was the obvious choice.
Fair. It happened.
Okay. There's 2 questions, and I'll answer them.
Okay.
How do you choose the shirts and outfits for Benny? And does he wear like kid shirts? Yes, he wears basically toddler shirts. And what I do is as I'm thinking of pop culture and things that I like, I will then go and look at places like T Public, T Fury, because they'll sell kids. They'll basically take people's prints and then sell them in kids size shirts. And I'll go see like what's out there, what's crazy stuff is out there. That's how I got the Jackie Daytona human bartender shirt. And my favorite one, because I know that very few people actually get the joke, is Randy Travis, Macho Man Randy Travis. And it's basically Macho Man Randy Savage and the fringe jacket that he would wear, but they put Randy Travis's head on it. For those of you who don't know, Randy Travis was a country music legend.
Yeah,
like
that's hilarious.
Years and years ago.
That's a great like juxtaposition there. I appreciate that.
Yeah,
I don't think. Yeah.
So if I can find stuff like that, like I that's what I do is I'll look and I say, okay, I've got like $50, so I can go maybe buy 2 shirts for Benny, 2 like custom shirts that nobody else will have these. Like what I wanted to do, and it's become much harder, was to make I had a shirt command that said what kind of shirt he was wearing, and I wanted to keep putting up links so people could get those.
That's cool,
but
it's tough to maintain.
Really hard. Yeah, because you gotta update it every single day, because he changes clothes every day.
Every time. Yep. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. I like to close out the show by giving the guests the floor and parting on some final words. Benny, it was just an absolute pleasure to get to talk to you. I think we should have more of these talks. Honestly, we should do more of this off stream as well.
I don't think we our schedules collide enough. I think.
True. Do you have your final words ready?
Yes, I do.
Are you ready for the floor? Okay, I'm gonna give you the floor, Benny.
There is no piece of advice that I can give anybody that is better than to treat people like people. Bill Bryson wrote that Earth is a planet that's very good at harboring life, but it's also much better at extinguishing it. And so we should value it anytime we see it. And that is the thing that I hope that I can give people as Benny. I know that I don't always succeed, but I hope that people will think of that more often when they're in these encounters with other people, that life is precious and we should see it in other people.